Hello and welcome to the Media Bubble Podcast, the podcast that talks about movies, anime, comics, video games, and whatever we feel like. I'm your host Fredrik, and with me as always is my co-host and friend Karol.
Hello!
In today's episode we're going to talk about the newest Spiderman film, Spiderman No Way Home, and we're also going to say spoiler warning because we're going to talk pretty freely about the film, but with the box office I have a feeling that a lot of people have already seen it.
Yeah, I feel the reviews were generally pretty alright about this movie, and it's a combination of the three Spider-Man movies. A lot of people would want to see it.
Yeah, the film kind of feels like a weird fan fiction in some way when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. But just to give, maybe you can give a slight recap of what happened in the movie.
Yeah. Just before we talk about the movie, do you remember when we did a cinema episode and we talked about we hadn't been to a cinema in like two years or something like that because of the world right now?
Yeah.
How was it to go back into the cinema, Karol?
You know what? With how our home theater has evolved, because there were a lot of changes. Right now, it's just like a theater with 11 seats, and they are so comfortable, and I had so much pleasure just being back there watching movie with you in front of a big screen. I think it was amazing.
I remember that we got into the theater very quickly also. Yeah. So something that I had a bit of trouble with was when we did that episode, I said, you can go to a premiere of a film and there's will be seats that you can take. You don't need to order or something like that. But with how the cinema has reconstructed to smaller seats, I certainly had a very, very much trouble with finding a day that we could go.
Yeah, because we had essentially what we did was on the second day of Christmas. It was 28th of December. No, wait, that was yesterday. For your information, we're recording pretty late. So yeah, it was 26th of December. That's when we could finally find the time to see the movie.
Mm. Yeah, so they had the reconstructed cinema a bit since we last were there. Really comfortable seats with.
Oh my God! You could basically sleep in those seats. They were so comfortable.
Yeah, it felt like you were sitting at home in some way.
Yeah, like I now know why people built home cinemas with such comfortable chairs and just like not a lot of people, just you and your close ones. Like, hell yeah, I want a personal cinema.
Yeah, so now we're going to do our second Spider-Man episode in this podcast, which is weird because we aren't that big of Spider-Man fans, but here we are.
And I suggest that we just start with telling the actors' names, because, spoilers, with Spider-Man No Way Home, there are 3 Spider-Man, and it's going to be hell confusing otherwise.
Yeah, let's see. We have Tom Holland as
Peter Parker.
Spider-Man number 1. Let's see, we have Zendaya as MJ, Benedict Cumberbatch returns as Stephen Strange. Jacob Batalon as Ned Leeds, Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, Jamie Foxx returns as Max Dillon Electro, William Dafoe, Norman Osborn, Alfred Molina as Otto Octavius, Benedict Wong as Wong, let's see here, Marissa Tomei as May Parker, Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker.
Yeah, so listeners, you can see where the problem can be.
Yeah, there's a lot of different references in this film. Like one reference that I wasn't sure that we were going to get was like in the first 10 minutes of the film we see Daredevil from the Netflix show with Charlie Cox returning for that. What was it? 30-second scene?
Yeah, like, and he was like it. He was just a cameo. He was the lawyer that Happy got for Peter. No, it was Aunt May that got for Peter after the message that Mysterio spread went out to the world that he killed Mysterio and that and he claims to be the new Iron Man or whatever.
I'm not sure if the Netflix series is now considered canon in the MCU or if this universe just has the same looking Daredevil.
It's interesting because it could be either or. Like, maybe
Because
it's a tease for something Daredevil related, a movie or a new series, continuation.
Yeah. Because Jonah Jameson is played with the same actors in two different universes, but they are still considered two different parts.
I hope that it's like this cameo is maybe a tease for like further projects for Daredevil, because I think it had a cult following, but due to how Disney wanted to create their own platform, there was no continuation for the series on Netflix. If that's how I understood the situation correctly, right?
Those series were never really. While those series were going on, they were never really mentioned in the film, and I think Kevin Feige, who kind of runs the movie Departure at the time, he never really considered them to be part of the MCU, so they weren't really that much referenced, if I remember correctly.
So there was no thought behind that this should connect to the mainline phases of MCU.
No, I don't think so. There were a few references to the MCU films in those Daredevil shows, but
not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
But I feel like we're getting a little bit off track in a Spider-Man centric episode. I actually wanted to retell the plot a little bit because it ties into what I did before seeing the movie. So before we went to the cinema, I've never seen the second one, The Far From Home, and I was desperately trying to find time to see it before we went to the cinema together, just to get like context. So it was interesting that the action of the third movie picks up only a month after the second movie. And there are a lot of changes from the second movie that I like in the third movie. For example, the inclusion of Ned and MJ actually like doing stuff with Peter. Because in the second one, like MJ, she was the catalyst of the finding like who Mysterio is, and she was the love interest. But she didn't do much. Same with Ned. He literally got a love interest just to fill out time because I guess writers couldn't find like a reason for him to do anything.
I feel like this film is a kind of a lot different from the two previous films, because they kind of felt more like high school films in some way with a superhero in it. This story feels more like Spiderman superhero story, you can say. Yeah,
and I feel and you're right, actually. I didn't think about it that way, but it kind of ties it with the ending, because at the end, and again spoilers, Peter Parker had to choose between his life as a Peter Parker or as Spider-Man, and he eventually erased everyone's memories about who Peter is. So he kind of transitioned from being this high school superhero to just being a superhero, to be an adult.
Yeah, I guess he kind of did. He still had one of those college books in the last scene, so he probably still wants to go to college, but I guess the fourth movie will tell us how that will go.
Yeah, I mean, with essentially how they fridged Spider-Man, because nobody remembers him. They can just bring him whenever they feel like is appropriate. There is like no pressure of what's gonna happen next, like with the second movie.
One thing that I thought about in that ending is, you know, this Disney and Sony deal which they have with the MCU.
Yeah.
I thought, wouldn't this be the if Sony wants to go out of the MCU, wouldn't that be like the perfect way to do it? Yeah, just every superhero that he has ever met doesn't remember him anymore.
But I feel like if that was the case, they would essentially like try to make everyone forget about Spider-Man.
Yeah, Yeah, because everyone just forgot about Peter Parker when I think about it.
So Spider-Man is still like, he's still in the MCU. It's just that now it's just...
Yeah, I heard confirmed by Kevin Feige and people like that they are still going to work with Spider-Man. I just found it that if they wanted to pull out, wouldn't that be like the best time to do it?
Yeah, but I guess they didn't want to. But yeah, so I wouldn't actually...
So the plot of the film.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks for his life.
It really sucks. Like, he can't get admitted to school with his friends. His friends are being like punished by associating with him, and he's basically treated like this murderer by some, and by hero by some others.
I find it weird in some way, because isn't Spider-Man the only superhero in the MCU that had a secret identity? Because everyone knew that Tony Stark was Iron Man, and yeah.
I'm trying to think other superheroes where their secret identity was more of a deal, but I can't really think of it. Maybe like the Ant-Man and the Wasp.
No, I don't even think those are secret identities.
Because Captain America, everyone knew who he was. Same with Iron Man.
I think Spider-Man was kind of the only one that had a secret. I think in the comics as well that he is one of the few Marvel characters that still has a secret identity.
Yeah, I never really thought about it. Because, like, what other characters could have secret identity? Because, like, all of the other ones that could have are not introduced yet. Like, Kamala Harris, Squirrel Girl. She's not in the MCU yet. Or will ever be, I don't know. The X-Men. Because, like...
No, they are not secret identities either.
I mean, a lot of them could have secret identities. I don't think everyone is like claiming like this guy is Cyclops.
No, but I'm pretty sure in the comics that everyone knows that Scott Summers is Cyclops.
Oh, all right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so because Peter Parker's life kind of gets much more attention that he got before.
Yeah, so trying to fix the issue in the most impactful way possible, instead of calling his college and asking for like a chance for his friends, he goes to Doctor Strange and asks him if everyone can forget who Spider-Man is, like that Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
Yeah, and Doctor Strange as a good friend helps Peter with this problem. It's just that when he is casting the spell, Peter kind of rewrites the spell.
Yeah,
he is casting it.
He like puts a lot of conditional, like not my aunt and not my girlfriend and not my friend and not like superheroes, right? I'm not happy. So Strange gets frustrated, cancels the spell, and just tells him like, you should just go try talk with the school and try to explain yourself, because magic, you just try to brainwash the entire world, dude. Yeah,
that's not okay, dude.
Yeah, dude.
So well, what is it? He tries then to reach the principal of the college there that he wants to go to.
Yeah, and on his way, after meeting the college admission administrator or principal, he meets Dr. Octavius. And
can I just say that was probably one of my biggest smiles of the whole film was when he showed up to me, to be honest.
Yeah, like Doc Ock is such a fantastic villain, and the one who played him, I don't remember his name.
Let's see, Alfred Molina.
Yeah, so Alfred Molina, he plays that role so well. Just this disgruntled scientist who is in a place he didn't remember, and he just wants to get back home.
Can I just say that the concept of this film because one thing that they could have done was, if they were playing with the multiverse, they just could have taken in a Doc Ock and have another actor. But because they are the actors from the previous Spider-Man films that we have seen, it just makes it a lot more special.
Yeah, it just gives this spice, like it acknowledges like the previous actors and how great they were.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me at the same time of a time when in the early 2000s when we didn't get a lot of comic book movies and things like that, and Spider-Man was kind of one of the few series that was going on while I was a child, and yeah, it kind of bring some memories to me.
Yeah, and the same, because like it's just as you pointed, we didn't have that many superhero movies, and when we had, it was the X-Men, and it was like it was the period where everything had to be so gritty and realistic and serious, and it was also reflected in the movies when like they killed the villains.
That was one thing that I wondered, if they were going to bring Tobey Maguire back, how were they going to have his personality fit with everything else? Because when if you rewatch those Spider-Man films, Spider-Man, his Peter Parker personality of films in that era kind of didn't. I didn't think that would fit in so well with today's movies, you can say.
I mean, they still did a good job, I think, because like...
Yeah, I will admit, they did a really good job. I just... When I heard of rumors that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire would be returning, I was just thinking, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man's personality, I think, would fit well into this world. But I'm really wondering about Tobey Maguire's more dorky, quiet-looking personality, how that would fit in. They did a really good job with it, I will admit.
Yeah, and I agree, because like these people, as we know, like as we established, we had Dr. Ock and then we had Green Goblin, and all of these villains are being pulled from different dimensions, from different points in different universes. So it was a cool idea.
At different times also.
Exactly. So while the villains were brought in before they were killed, the Spider-Man were brought after the fact. So it was pretty clever to bring Tobey Maguire, because he's an older dude. I don't know how old is he.
Yeah, he's 45.
Exactly, so he's not really that athletic. So it was a good idea to make him like more mellowed down and like establish that he like...
Didn't they even joke a little bit about that when the two Spider-Men suddenly trying to fix his back?
Yeah.
which when you sit in the cinema and you watch that scene, you're kind of just wondering, what am I watching? How is this possible? The two Spider-Mans helping each other with back problems.
Yeah, I mean, but that's why it was so amazing. I was just grinning from ear to ear just seeing them two interact.
One thing that I also felt was kind of cool was before Tom Holland's Spider-Man, there were 5 previous Spider-Man films, and they brought a villain from each of those 5 films back.
Yeah, and the villains were Doc Ock, Green Goblin, the Sandman, Electro, Killer Croc.
No, not Killer Croc. That's a Batman villain. This character is the Lizard.
The Lizard.
Yeah, he's kind of a Dr. Connor's turned himself into a lizard to kind of regrow his arm, you can say.
Yeah, and then he just decided that this was dope enough to turn everyone into lizards.
Yeah, something that you're kind of noticing in the 5 villains is that that Green Goblin is like the first tier of villain, then they're like a second tier of screen time villains where Dr. Ock and Electro is in, and then there's like a third tier where Sandman and the Lizard is in, that they kind of are there, but they don't really do a lot.
Yeah, but I actually wanted to touch upon that as well. You just struck gold, because I think the tiers are because, like, I'm still glad a lot of the villains interacted with each other, because we had Electro and Sandman talk, and we had
that was fun.
And we had those interactions with the heroes as well. We had Electro talk with the Spiderman, and then we had like Doc Ock trying to patch up things with Tobey Maguire. It was interesting, but I think while everyone got their appropriate amount of screen time, I feel the focus was most of the Green Goblin, because, well, he was kind of the one with Aunt May to try to convince Peter that they can be fixed and cured, and then the Green Goblin instead tried to cure Tom Holland, because different from other Spider-Men, he hasn't killed anyone yet, and that's, he thought, was what's wrong with him.
Yeah.
He even mocked him during the fight in Happy's apartment. I felt that was the kind of the point that Peter tried to have it all. Like, he tried to save the day and save the villains and be all happy and merry, but sometimes it doesn't work that way.
You're trying to not choose.
Yeah, because he chose both.
But I'm going to force you to choose.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
And I felt like up to this point in the Spider-Man saga, we didn't have a villain that actually imposed a choice on Peter. It was always like him just winning. Yeah,
I kind of find it weird in some way that the first Spider-Man villain from the first movie is with all the other villains, he is still like, he's the main villain.
Yeah, but you can also chalk that up to like Willem Dafoe's performance. Like, he when he was like his. What's the Green Goblin's other persona? Not
Norman Osborn.
So when he was Norman Osborn, he felt like just this man who was troubled with his negative tendencies. Like this.
I gotta say, William Dafoe feels like a man that really enjoys playing this character.
Yeah, I could feel the light from his performance. It was just it was just so fun seeing him wreck Peter's day.
Yeah, and it was even if the Green Goblin got the most screen time, I still feel like it was kind of fun to see all the 5 villains return, even if the Lizard didn't have that much of a screen time. When he talked, I still felt like, oh, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, but I feel like it's kind of justified. With so much else going on, I feel like maybe the Sandman and Killer Croc was most resource intensive.
Yeah, I don't really even feel like you could do that much with the Sandman, because his story kind of ended in a good way in the 3rd film.
I don't remember. Didn't he also die?
No, no, he didn't die per se. He kind of faded away with the sand.
That counts as death. I thought he was turned into a cement mixer or something.
Does it count as death? Because I didn't think he died. Actually, that's something that I wondered about. When these villains return home, in their different times. Do they live now or something? Have they rewritten history, or what happens?
I think it's up to viewers to decide, because I hoped for some kind of after credits scene where we can see the result of this whole plot. But it's also...
That was something that I was expecting, was in the post-credit scene, that we would maybe see Andrew Garfield Spider-Man return to his world or something like that.
It's also interesting to see if all of these villains and heroes came from the same dimensions, because, like, what happened, like, if Doc Ock doesn't die, will Tobey Maguire still have guilt of killing him? Or are they all from different splinters?
Yeah, and I guess Harry Osborn wouldn't even have the same revenge lust in the third film, because his father would then still be alive.
Yeah. So that's at least my canon, that in their own splinters of the multiverse, they survived.
This is kind of weird talking about.
It is. You know what?
Do you remember when we drove home and we were like, there was another episode which we remembered that, that episode was really confusing to talk about. Which episode was it now?
It was Spider-Man.
It was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and we both like have the biggest laugh.
It's still funny to think, but I think we also, when we drove home, we'd also touch up on a interesting thing, like where the MCU is going. Because at least with Spider-Man, we had Spider-Verse, now we have Spider-Man 3, which topped up on multiverses. We have then Doctor Strange that gives like a little bit of like after, like what happens after with Strange. We have...
Yeah, his next movie is called Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, and then we had What Ifs, another like a what if scenarios. Like, what's the goal?
I kind of also felt like Loki did kind of something like that, where in Loki's series on Disney Plus, he meets a lot of different versions of Loki's.
Yeah, and again with the multiverse. So I still haven't seen Loki, and I still haven't got Disney Plus.
But even if we see a team of multiverse, that doesn't really help me to understand where we are going.
Yeah, because I don't feel there were enough hints, at least in the latest installments of the MCU, to know where we're heading. We had Thanos, this clear villain, but now it's kind of, are we pursuing just loose threads and trying to like finish this individual stories, or is there like a next villain, someone even stronger than Thanos?
I have a feeling that they are planning something. I just don't know what that is yet.
Yeah, I
have heard rumors about them planning to do something with big with Doctor Doom now that he has returned to Marvel.
Yeah, and you told me about it too.
Maybe something with Galactus too.
Galacticus could be cool. Like, he eats planets and stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, well, let's keep talking about Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, and actually, I think it'd be cool to touch upon, because I wrote a list. I didn't try to make it really comprehensive and exhausting for us, but I wanted to touch upon a few things. Can we talk about Aunt May's death scene?
With great powers comes great responsibility.
Yeah, but it dragged on so freaking long.
Yeah.
And it feels like maybe if she said that before, even in previous movies about great power with great responsibility, and then when she was hit with the skateboard, with Goblin's skateboard, she didn't stand up and try to make fun of it, and then she was like, oh, you know what, I'm actually gonna sit down. Okay, you're gonna be fine. Yeah, I'm actually just kind of tired, just to catch my breath. And then Peter's finding the blood, and just it feels like she should have just been stayed on the ground, and she should have told him the thing and died, and that would be just dramatic enough.
Yeah, at first I thought, wait, will she survive?
Yeah.
Because she kind of looks okay.
Yeah, and
but she doesn't.
no, she dies.
Which I kind of had a feeling that someone close to Spider-Man would die in this film. It was kind of just a question of who will it be.
Yeah. It was still appropriate that it was May, because it was Green Goblin's way of trying to fix Spider-Man, because he suspected that because of May, he didn't feel this need to kill, or he hasn't killed yet.
Yeah.
And
I guess kind of that's kind of the last family for Peter Parker.
yeah, like he ends up alone at the end of the movie.
Yeah. Kind of sad.
Yeah, but you know what? I like that. I feel like he paid the price. To save his friends, to save everyone, to save the enemies that he wanted to desperately cure, he had to give up something even worse. He didn't send him to death. He had to give up his own life.
Yeah. Kind of the thing of it's his responsibility as well, because it was him that kind of did this.
Yeah. Like, if, as Doctor Strange said in the beginning, like, if he just like tried to reason with people, which is not entirely like 100% would have worked, and not try to mess with magic, maybe it wouldn't end up as badly as it did.
Yeah, so in the film, after Spider-Man has catched all the villains, all the 5 villains, he kind of tries to cure each one of them, and he actually succeeds with Dr.
Octavius.
Yeah, or Dr. Octavius, which he kind of fixed that chip that in the Spider-Man 2, that chip that broke, that kind of made Dr. Octavius be able to control these 4 arms.
But you know what? Can I just say one thing that felt cheap? I loved that that Octavius was the first one introduced, and he had like a proper fight with Spider-Man, and it was pretty funny when the nanotechnology took over his own arms just to like pacify him.
Yeah.
But it also felt kind of cheap. Like maybe it's the same thing, like hacking the arms, and like it was dramatic because for a moment you thought that he would kill Spider-Man. But I don't know. I feel there should be like a little bit more, make it hard for Spider-Man to cure him.
Yeah, and the other villains on the other way, they kind of escape, still being villains, and in the case of Electro, he kind of even became more powerful in some way.
Yeah, he mentioned something about the new power that he experienced in this universe.
And Green Goblin is doing Green Goblin stuff, you can say.
Can I also say how I like that as the movie approaches a climax, Doctor Strange is like caught up in his multi-pocket dimension, and he's trapped there. So the 3 Spider-Men try to gather up all the villains, and they try to cure him one after one. I just loved when Andrew Garfield saved MJ in that one scene. Because it felt like something that his character would have so many negative feelings about, not able to save his loved one. Yeah, and he did it.
It feels like he had so many nightmares about that night.
Yeah, like when Andrew Garfield like stands up, he's like he feels like he's not confident, and he isn't really like, he's not a hero. He's just like this damaged goods of a person.
What did you feel about that scene when they were first introduced?
I think it was funny.
Yeah. I something that I wondered when I heard these rumors about these 2 actors returning is, are they just going to show up in like the final battle, or are they going to show up a bit before? And they do show up a little bit before, and I found that to be so great to just have these 3 different Spider-Mans interact. It's create these funny scenes between the differences and similarities about these different Spider-Man's lives.
Yeah, and I think...
And one funny scene is when they discover that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man has webs that just exist in his body, I guess, and the two of them are just curious and ask all these different questions of, how does this work?
Yeah. Did you ever have a blockage?
Yeah.
and it's maybe a detail you always forget about, because like the Spider-Man that came after him like tried to explain that away, but like, yeah, Tobey Maguire just produced web.
Like, can it go out in some other places than your arm?
Maybe his nose. Or other orifices.
That was something Tom Holland asked him.
Also, when Ned asked Andrew Garfield if he ever had a best friend, and he said yeah, and he turned out to be a massive villain.
Yeah. Do you want to know that the name Ned Leeds is actually a villain in the comics? That is the Hobgoblin.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a good thing he promised Peter not to become a villain.
Yes, I kind of feel like that's also kind of a reference to why they put that in some way.
But do you feel like maybe it's foreshadowing?
Not anymore. Maybe at some point I thought, but I don't feel it anymore.
Yeah. I feel like now that everyone forgot Peter, it's kind of because I was thinking like Ned is going to MIT and he's gonna learn about technology.
Yeah.
Now,
or maybe he became so inspired by the Green Goblin that he was kind of like, oh, I want to be like that.
You know that they can actually pull that, right? Like Ned maybe also wants a hoverboard.
Yeah. There was this green guy that came from another world.
Yeah, I just liked his style. He had this panache, this villainous aura. I want to be like him.
Yeah, he had this weird laugh.
Sorry.
So when it happens, there becomes kind of this Spider-Man battle with three of the villains. There's the Sandman, Electro, and the Lizard that are fighting these three Spider-Mans at the same time.
Can I say how I love that that Tom Holland tried to explain that he was in the Avengers and the others didn't understand what they were?
Yeah, that's great. What is that?
Is that a band? Because there weren't Avengers in previous series.
No, because in previous movies they were just so focused on like, this is the only superhero in this world.
Yeah. I mean, it was only like after Iron Man they tried to like connect everything, right?
Yeah.
Then the Hulk and like...
That's the most special thing about the MCU, is how connected it is.
But do you think there was a possibility if they tried to connect the MCU a little bit earlier so that they included Andrew Garfield's?
If I remember correctly, one of the early plans when the first Iron Man was created was there was going to be a little bit of a reference to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but that didn't, I guess, happen because different studios, I guess.
Yeah, I could imagine, and also I think because when did the two movies came out? I think.
I think the last Spider-Man 3 came out 2006, and the original Iron Man came out 2008.
Yeah, because by the time of Iron Man, I could imagine like Tobey Maguire just wanted to be done with the movies, so they would have to include another actor. That's why I thought maybe Garfield's would be do it.
And now he has returned.
The savior, the chosen one.
Like, who thought that this was possible when like the release of Spider-Man 3 had ended at, oh, we're going to see him return to the role like 15 years later.
Exactly, and he's gonna play the same age.
Kind of.
But I think, do you think if there was another series where such a wonderful team up would have happened, if not MCU?
I don't think it would actually be possible because I don't think there has been a superhero who has so many actors play him. They could, I guess Batman has had a lot of different actors play that part, but I don't really think it would work with Batman the same way as it can work with Spider-Man.
It would be interesting to see. It probably would have involved some somewhat darker plot. But I have to agree, like, now that I think about it, all Iron Man were Robert Downey Jr. Then there was all the Captain Americas with Chris Evans. Like the Hulk maybe, but even then Mark Ruffalo, he was a little bit more prominent after, like, when he was introduced.
Yeah, so I don't think there would have been a series with the same impact in any way that could have done this, because I remember when I first heard of this plot and I thought, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. I luckily shielded myself from all the spoilers about this movie, so I was genuinely surprised when Tobey Maguire came to the movie.
Yeah, I wish I could have been you.
Like, it was just so phenomenal. It almost blew my brain.
Oh, okay. But had you heard about Andrew Garfield?
I think after seeing Far From Home, I stumbled upon a video where Andrew Garfield was interviewed if he is gonna join the last movie, and he was like avoiding questions. So maybe there's a chance. I'm not gonna rule that out. And
I guess he kind of denied that.
I mean, what else could he do? Like, there's a lot of money on stake.
The fact that after this movie came out and everyone started to call, he's a liar.
Like, what is the dude else expect to do? That's his job. He can't just spoil, like, I'm gonna be also there. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So what could he do? But there's kind of this battle with the three different Spider-Mans where they kind of defeat each villain one after one. It first Sandman, Electro, and Lizard, and Dr. Octopus is already good, so they don't really need to worry about him.
Yeah, he helps them against Electro because Electro overpowers all of three of them at once. And I have also, like, 2 points I wanted to add. First, I really enjoyed, like, as I said before, MJ and Ned. They felt more included in the movie from the start. They were there when shit went down. They were at his house. They all had trouble getting into schools. They all went then to Doctor Strange's house and tried to figure stuff out. Yeah. They went on him with the adventure to find Electro and Sandman. And they also
Ned for some reason has learned magic.
Exactly. And MJ was also like this was a lot about the relationship between MJ and Peter, so she was also, like, in a lot of scenes.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And that's what makes me so happy, because even with such a varied cast of characters, not like a lot of them got a good chunk of screen time.
We might as well say that even if there's a lot of character, the focus always stays on Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah, like, it never felt like story was going somewhere else, not about him.
When you think about all the different elements that are in this film, it's amazing that this film is as good as it is.
Yeah, I mean, imagine, just like you said before, what if the 2 Spider-Men came to the last battle? It would be a cool cameo, but we wouldn't get, like, funny, like, insightful conversations between all of the 3 Spider-Men.
Yeah, as I said before, how else would you have watched 2 Spider-Mans giving each other back problem here?
Exactly. How else would you see, like, Dr. Octavius and Aunt May interact and asking for salt water?
Now, if there actually is one thing that I am a little bit disappointed about in this film, is that 5 villains returned, and I kind of had this idea in mind that, oh my god, they are finally going to do the Sinister Six.
Oh yeah, you told me before seeing the movie. I was like, Sinister Six? Huh?
Yeah, it's this villain group in Spider-Man where 6 Spider-Man villains combines to try to destroy Spider-Man.
Oh.
And I thought that because they are bringing back these old villains, there's 5 already there. They just need to add one more, maybe the Vulture from the first Spider-Man, Far From Spider-Man Homecoming. Then there would have been 6, and there would be this Sinister Six.
I'm just thinking because I think I read a comic about Sinister Six. It was the amazing foes of Spider-Man.
And I was kind of disappointed that they had this. I felt like they had this chance to do it, and they had this chance to do it in a really cool way, but they didn't for some reason.
I feel like maybe introducing like them calling like we are the Sinister Six. Maybe it would have like led it to be a little bit more convoluted, because if you establish such a group and then defeat all of the villains in one movie, it feels maybe a little bit lackluster.
Yeah, but at the same time, he had 2 other Spider-Man that came to help him, so I thought that it would be possible.
I mean, it kind of was.
So we got a Sinister 3, I guess.
Yep, not Sinister 3, the amazing, superior neighborhood 3.
Yeah.
But I think that I mean, do you have anything else you want to touch up on?
Yeah, I kind of while I enjoyed the Green Goblin and the fights they had, something that I remembered about the old Spider-Man movies is that the villains in that movie, they kind of felt like a threat to the whole New York city, and I kind of never really felt that the heroes were in that much dangers in a weird way. Did you feel that?
I felt that. Well, maybe not with all the villains, but
I didn't
Green
feel
Goblin.
like the stakes were that.
I thought the stakes were high. Seeing that, okay, maybe not with all of them, because they,
I never really just felt that the city was in that much danger. Spider-Man was definitely in danger, but not really the city of New York.
But
if you understand what I mean.
But consider this: like, I feel like their first goal was to eliminate Tom Holland as Spider-Man, not the actor, and and I feel
it's kind of easier to say the actor.
Yeah, we don't want anyone to eliminate Tom Holland. So at least I felt for me that if they accomplished defeating him, like they would have their go on the New York.
Yeah.
Like 6 super powerful villains, that's incredibly dangerous. And Green Goblin, we've seen in some of the scenes, he was just punching Peter like through thick concrete floors.
Yeah, for Green Goblin, that really felt like that was his main goal. He just wanted to torture this boy.
Yeah.
And he kind of succeeded because Tom Holland nearly killed him before Tobey Maguire stepped in.
Why did Tobey get stabbed at the end? I don't understand.
Yeah, but he didn't die.
Exactly. Why be stabbed?
Yeah,
like
didn't really make much sense, I guess.
And then they're just like, you're in a lot of hurt. Yeah, I am. And just like they were standing there at the end of the movie, like I felt like they should be doing something, but they didn't, and Tobey was stabbed. Like,
but to wrap this up, everyone forgets who Peter Parker is because of the spell that Doctor Strange
weeps
did. So everyone forgets that Peter Parker exists, I guess, at all. I'm not really... does he have a driver license or something like that anymore?
Like, I guess... No, look, they don't erase him from existence. They just... Everyone forgets who he is.
Oh, so he still has a personal number and things like that?
I have no idea.
Well, anyway, the film kind of ends with this coffee shop scene where Peter is supposed to kind of introduce himself to MJ that has forgotten who he is, but he kind of doesn't.
I think they had this like connection that they knew each other maybe, but there wasn't anything saying that she remembers him.
Yeah, one thing that has been pointed out to me is that she apparently wears the necklace that Peter gave her in one of the previous movies.
Oh, the Black Dahlia.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't catch that.
Spider-Man kind of moves into this new apartment. He has a little bit of a talk to Happy besides his Aunt May's grave. Well, anyway, the film kind of ends with kind of a Christmas scene, I guess, where Tom Holland kind of swings out through his apartment, and that kind of just how this amazing movie ends.
Exactly. And do you feel? I mean, I know we touched upon this before a little bit about fridging Spider-Man, and if that they can bring him back whenever they feel like. When do you think another Spider-Man movie will release?
Probably. I don't think it will be too far away because with other MCU movies it can take quite a bit of time because it's Marvel production that is making those movies, while the Spider-Man movies is kind of made by Sony production, so that's kind of why Spider-Man films are coming out much quicker than other MCU franchises.
So we can hope that Sony will, in some time, produce another Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't think that they will sleep on this gold mine of a franchise for too long.
No. I think Spider-Man is a hot commodity right now. It'd be silly to just let that hype go to waste.
They literally just made the most hyped Spider-Man film.
Yeah. Let's go! More Spider-Man. Spider-Man 4. More Spider-Man. Add Miles.
But in some way I kind of wonder, where the heck are they going to take this franchise?
I mean,
who is the next villain going to be if he has faced already the 5 most powerful previous villains?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but maybe our listeners can shoot to us with suggestions about who they think that Spider-Man will face next.
But anyway, we are kind of running a bit long in this episode, so let's just leave with what we kind of felt with the movie. I felt like it was a really good movie, as it's I kind of wanted a bit more in the final fight, but it was still a really entertaining movie that I enjoyed a lot.
Why did Toby get stabbed? Why did Aunt May die for such a long time? But otherwise, great movie, and go see it again if you can.
I feel like it's just such a fun movie also to see a lot of the small little details.
Yeah, it was just a delight. It was a delight. But anyway, our listeners, as always, thank you all for listening, and we hope that you enjoyed it as much as we have. Don't forget to follow, hit that bell icon, or follow us on socials like Twitter. See you again in the next episode, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
Bye.